Generals, on the march!
After wearing the alien pest down in an extended battle, Terran forces move in to exterminate the nest of this disgusting brute. In preparation for the final liberation of this region, Zerg forces were cut off from resources one by one. In swift strikes, enemy resource procurement sites were taken over. First air superiority was gained, then stealth fighters take out first targets. Soon after, ground troops are being dropped in to take control of the situation on the ground. Moments later, the construction of a command center has already been completed and the mining operation can begin. After luring enemy aerial units into a vast field of anti-aircraft positions, air superiority is almost constantly achieved. If the alien brute dares to show up, Valkyries strike down enemy troops, just like our honored Space Marines do on the ground. The Zerg hordes break like waves on heavily fortified positions. For the final assault on the alien nest, heavy cruisers take out forward anti-aircraft positions with long-range strikes. Then, dropships bring in strike teams. These brave men and women deal with the abhorrent monsters in gruesome hand-to-hand combat, clearing out all anti-aircraft positions, making way for the superior firepower of heavy cruisers. Or in other words,
I really enjoy StarCraft. After BlizzCon and the whole brouhaha around the mobile Diablo, which appears to be a simple reskin of a Chinese mobile game, which in itself is a copy of Diablo, I remembered that I do own a copy of a great game from before Blizzard was corrupted, or bought by Activision. The first time I came across StarCraft was when my parents and I were invited for dinner, and the family we visited included two brothers, both of which were older than me, and I had the opportunity to watch what the older boys were playing on their computers. Amongst the games was StarCraft, a game that immediately captured me. In all honesty, I never became a great competitive player. I know a little bit of a build order to set up a rather potent group of Space Marines in a few minutes, but when I see what my opponents do in multiplayer, or what is going on in actual tournaments, I get sweaty hands. So for most of my time with this game, I sat back and played with friends, or simply enjoyed the amazing single-player campaign. A few days ago I got my hands on StarCraft Remastered, basically an HD version of the old classic that stays incredibly true to the now over 20-year-old original game. In some areas they could have done a bit more in my opinion. Here are the direct comparison, old to new. Not that much has changed. However, it does look better. The resolution goes up to 4K now, which is very nice. The textures got upgraded and look very sharp now. For isometric 2D graphics, this is pretty much the pinnacle of what is possible. The new, highly detailed unit sprites almost appear to be 3D at times, and the new dynamic lighting system and the ability to zoom in makes it look even better. However, the frames of explosions, you can still count them on one hand. The HUD and unit portraits are beautiful and almost go up to the standard of StarCraft 2. And the audio files got upgraded as well. Everything was re-recorded. Not only the unit quotes, but also the conversations for the single-player campaign. Everything new and crisp. For those who would rather like to hear the original from back in the days, you can simply switch back with a click of a button. The only thing I assume they did not re-record is the music, but that wouldn't have been necessary in the first place. The original soundtrack is phenomenal, and I guess most people would agree with me, the Terran themes are the best. They just get stuck in your ear. You've heard them as background music in several other videos of mine, so yeah, I just love them. It's great, isn't it? Or am I just too nostalgic? The remastered version still runs on the old engine. It is merely upgraded. That means all the old quirks are still in the game. From time to time a unit needs to be rescued because the pathfinding still can't figure a way out. The same counts for some combat units. Some Protoss units have really quirky pathfinding and they retained it. This is great for esports players, so they can pick up right where they left, but for players like me who just like to play for fun, this is a bit inconvenient from time to time. They could have, at least for me, moved this up to modern standards. The most important aspect, however, the $15 Remastered Edition and the Free Edition both have been optimized for modern operating systems. So, whether you buy the Remastered Edition or stay with the old Basic, both should run smoothly on your computer. I really appreciate that even the free version got optimized for modern systems, considering that you can buy games in the Steam store which require Windows 2000 to run properly. So far, I only encountered one bug. The game froze for about 3 seconds. 3 very scary seconds because the sound looped, and it was generally the sound you get moments before a blue screen. Well, that could have been caused by a plethora of things. I'm not putting that down on the game. I even captured that moment, though the sound is missing. I started replaying the campaign, as you can see. Without going into the story, because it's something you can find out for yourself, I will shortly describe how the mission structure goes and how the storytelling works. Most of the story is conveyed in mission briefings with various characters. In addition to that, you have conversations within missions and from time to time a slideshow and a render sequence. The mission structure varies a lot. Defensive missions, simple annihilation of the enemy, or escort objectives are all sprinkled throughout the campaign. What you are seeing here is a rescue mission. You need to make a breakthrough to this crashed cruiser and rescue General Duke to persuade him to switch sides.
You're about the last folks I expected to show up. What's your angle here, Minsk?
Our angle? I'll give you an angle, you slimy Confederate piece of
Jim, enough. I'll handle this.
A personal highlight of mine are missions in which you fight with only a limited amount of troops, making every man count and making every wrong decision into a hard hitter, since you cannot simply reproduce reinforcements. Here I am fighting my way through a Confederate base and uncover some interesting plot points by accident. These special missions loosen up the regular formula of the campaign very well. And all in all, I enjoy StarCraft's form of storytelling. It suits this complicated and very broad plot perfectly. Unlike many other strategy games, StarCraft only features 3 different factions. Now this might come as a surprise as someone who comes from a, let's say, Warhammer 40k background. StarCraft's 3 factions are very distinct from one another, yet incredibly well balanced. Let us start with the humans, the Terrans. They play similar to what you would expect from any other human race in Dawn of War or most other strategy games. Building units and barracks, erecting bunkers and buildings with workers, and so on. Then you have the Protoss, a highly advanced alien race that can simply warp buildings in place. The worker drone doesn't even have to attend the construction site. But they too have drawbacks. All buildings need to be constructed within the range of a pylon, these big crystals that power everything. Once nearby crystals are destroyed, even defensive buildings go offline. A huge disadvantage compared to the 2 other factions. But to balance that, their defensive buildings are very versatile all-rounders that can fulfill all roles at once. They can uncloak invisible enemies and attack ground targets as well as air targets alike. Moving to the Zerg, a type of alien which construction method is very different from anything else as everything is biological. First, we need to establish that the Zerg do not construct buildings. The worker drones simply mutate into a building of your choice. In fact, every unit starts out as a larva that mutates into a unit you want. Another thing that puts them apart from other races is that they can only construct buildings onto the so-called creep, which is something that one could describe as a biological carpet that consumes the planet's surface. To expand the so-called creep, you can build creep colonies. These buildings can then mutate further into a sunken colony to attack ground targets or a spore colony to attack air targets and unmasked cloaked units. Now you might think, when it comes to defense, the Terrans are the best since they can just build their bunkers and missile turrets anywhere and don't have to power them. Well, that's true, but to have the bunkers do anything, you have to man them with marines, and this depletes your available supply points. As you can see, all the sides have their strong points and weaknesses. What applies to the buildings applies for all units. There is no overpowered fighter, everything has its weakness. Your formidable tank force can be wiped out by an air attack. A cloaked unit can be uncovered by a scanner sweep, and so on. There's a reason why the game has a reputation of being incredibly well balanced, simply because it is. So is it worth buying the remastered version? Well, I am not sure if it is for everyone. $15 is a lot for an old game. It is now high resolution, sounds and looks significantly better, and has modern comforts like cloud saves and ranked multiplayer. For a fan of the franchise who wants to put on the nostalgia goggles like me, it is an investment they will probably not regret. At least I didn't. For everyone else who wants to experience the OG campaign just for the sake of knowing the story and the old feel of the game, I can recommend the free version. If you don't like it, well, you didn't lose anything, it's free. Both versions mean many hours of gameplay. Both versions come with the Brood War expansion pack, so all in all, 6 campaigns to play. Totally worth it. This is a classic you need to play if you are into real-time strategy games. In aspects of video game history, it is also quite an interesting piece of software, as this was Blizzard's last RTS game not in 3D. I for one really enjoy this old style of graphics, but even putting my nostalgia goggles aside, the original StarCraft is a must-play. I will leave a link to the StarCraft website in the description down below, so you can go check it out for yourselves. I hope you found this video to be interesting, and maybe you'll find the time to check out this old beloved classic of mine. So I hope to see you on the battlefield. And in the end, a special thanks to our loyal supporters on Patreon, who of course got to see this video first. Thanks to Kelda Powell, Lone Wolf, Rem Galama, Sambo Badger, Z-Ubes and Zed GLaDOS. With your support, you made this video possible. So, see you guys next time. Till then, have a nice day, and as always, goodbye and guten Tag.